Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel and to another posting for Superman. Wanted to take this a little different route and not. It's kind of hard to explain what I'm trying to do, so I just want to kind of get into it. But what we're going to do is we're going to react to somebody who's doing a reaction, and I'm trying to do this in a way that doesn't get copyrighted in any way, but there might be some cutouts in the YouTube presentation. If you do see that and you think you missed anything, you can certainly go to Rumble and check the whole thing out. But we're going to go over to a YouTuber um, that is called Kryptonite Korner with K's on both of them, of course. Kryptonite um, starts with a K. Korner is going to start with a K. And check out his YouTube. He has a number of videos up like this one, and then he has a lot more shorts, I believe. I haven't watched as many of the shorts. I've been trying to catch up on all of the videos otherwise here, and but that's basically what I want to do is kind of go through this. Now I'm gonna try to present this or start the best way that I can. If you've watched any of my previous videos, uh, you know I have some criticisms, and I'm coming at this film from a particular point of view. My point of view is uh, a an aversion, a dislike of sorts. Um, uh, for James Gunn, and not necessarily for himself, not necessarily, although sometimes it feels that way. Just the presentation um, that I'm, responding to. That's kind of where it is. But again, I'm coming from it from almost a behind the scenes kind of look at things. What I think is he's just the wrong man for the job. Uh, I didn't like the choice of him. I don't like what happened with Henry Cavill and stuff like that. So this is behind the scenes, kind of leading up to it. It's like there's a lot of things that went wrong that I don't think it can really be course corrected in that. So that's where I come from. I have a distrust. There's a lot of people that are saying things like "In Gunn we trust." I don't like even the use of the phrase and the way it's being said, what's being referred to, and stuff like that. There's a dislike that I have for that uh, inherently, and just what it is, and there's a promotion of James Gunn in all the promotion of this that it's like that rubs me the wrong way. This should be about Superman. That's what this should all be about. This is what should be going on here. Is Superman is coming back to the big screen. So you know where I'm coming from, but as a Superman fan, I want to see Superman on the movie screen. Okay, I I love many iterations of Superman. I grew up for the comic books with John Byrne comic books. I'm not going to rehash everything and talk a lot about all that stuff. But the John Byrne reboot, I think, was inspiration for some other things that I've heard about but not actually gotten into as far as comics. And I just recently went through the couple of years, I think it's a couple of years worth of comics for John Byrne before he left. They put it out in 4 volumes, hardback, something like probably 7 or 8 volumes in paperback. But I've gone through that recently and reread those comics and enjoyed the run of it. And it has its problems that I would disagree with, or if I was being really critical, I'd talk about that. But John Byrne is how I I kind of grew up with that being not the only Superman I'd ever been exposed to, um, but the Superman that I kind of took as authoritatively the comic book version of the lore, if you will. Um, and those of you who know Superman know it's changed from a Silver Age and Golden Age and stuff like that. And I I'm not arguing for one or the other or anything like that. I'm just telling you where I'm from. Um, and I love the Donner Superman and the series of movies there. Um, and uh, I enjoy Superman Returns. I enjoy the Lois and Clark series. I enjoy the Superboy series. A lot of the Superboy series is more what I was enjoying growing up, and then that Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, and there's always something that's a little off, and then I found out later on, of course, there was a different way they're trying to tell the story, basically. Which after that I appreciated a little bit more, knowing that. But then uh, Smallville is oh, I love Smallville so much and enjoy that. Now I understand it's got its problems. It has lulls. There's things that I dislike in it. I'm not talking about that. Overall, I love it. I love the iterations of Superman in various forms. I like looking at the older stuff. Uh, I'm talking about like George Reeves and and uh, earlier cartoons and even more modern cartoons. I'm not such a connoisseur that I get it all. That I sit there and pull up everything and watch everything and read everything. So that's kind of where I am. I'd like to see Superman. I want to see him on the big screen. And when Man of Steel came out, that was the new opportunity. And my children were young at the time, and so it was to be, and really is, because they're about to leave the house, and with the new Superman coming out, about to be, you know, essentially grown and gone. Um, it's not necessarily their Superman, 2025. They've grown up with Man of Steel, especially as much as I've, rewatched it through the years. So, my children are Man of Steel fans. To me, masterpiece of a movie. And I wouldn't argue with anybody for long about it. I'll just go back and watch it again. Do you want to give me your criticisms of it? I'll go back and watch and see if I agree or disagree. I usually wouldn't have to watch it again though, because I have seen it a number of times. Um, but I am not against Superman being made. I was very very excited in listening to all behind the scenes and wondering why Warner Brothers hates money so much that they would refuse to let Henry Cavill come back as Superman in a sequel, a proper sequel, rather than just the Zack Snyder um, uh, arc that was being created that hasn't been completed. Whether or not it gets completed and what format it could be done is another discussion too. But Henry Cavill should have been greenlit for Superman to have a sequel immediately, um, and it wasn't, and not for Zack Snyder to do an immediate sequel necessarily. Bring in another um, um, director and take it in a direction that it needed to go. But that's neither here nor there. Also, I'm just trying to tell you that I want Superman on the screen, and it baffles me to this day why Warner Brothers would be so adamantly against that. And if there's something behind the scenes, then that's something that's never been revealed. I'd be surprised if there was actually something behind the scenes that caused them to say we cannot do this with Henry Cavill. Anyway, eventually, that Black Adam came out, and the fans were beyond ecstatic and and supportive of, and we didn't all go to overflow Black Adam to lift that, because they had already begun to announce we're not going to keep going in this vein, but they kept teasing that it could, and there's a problem there. But anyway, they said Henry Cavill's coming back, and they made his appearance in Black Adam, and then announced that he would be coming back for Superman. You had at that time the potential to blow the box office roof off and absolutely win back the fans that you were losing with a variety of things. That was the way to go. It seriously was. I don't find anybody that could actually argue against it, because they would argue something like, well, you're trying to get Zack Snyder back. It's not about that. They weren't going to have Zack Snyder doing the sequels to Superman. Henry Cavill was going to be heavily involved, and you have the rumor was Christopher McQuarrie, I think it was, um, put together a script, and so that would be interesting to see that play out and everything. But those were the behind the scenes rumors anyway. So we understood that as fans, that that's the direction it was going, and there was something to be told that in interviews with Henry Cavill, and you'd have to go and watch them all. He said, "This is the character. These are the comic books. This is what we're dealing with, and this is the direction we're going to go." And the way he would say it, teasing it just enough to say, "Oh, yes, that's what we want," but without giving anything away, is really where it was. But when James Gunn and Henry Cavill have the meeting, Peter Safran, James Gunn, and Henry Cavill, and the result is Henry Cavill comes out and says, "I'm not going to be Superman anymore." And I'm very much paraphrasing that. You can go to his social media and actually read what he put out, and read the entire thing. He's very diplomatic and well spoken. Just, I mean, that is a beautiful um, announcement that he wouldn't even be coming back as Superman. And it's just, wow. It's just, anyway, they that was the biggest mistake that I can think of that Warner Brothers has done. And they made Justice League. So, I mean, I'm just saying that that is a dreadful mistake. Nevertheless, or regardless of what you think about Henry Cavill and continuing the Man of Steel stuff, I'm still for Superman. I wish that a Superman movie had come out within maybe 3 years of Man of Steel. Okay, um, I'm talking about a proper Superman. Okay, and it could have been done. I mean, they produce movies much faster than you think. Okay, um, at times the Batman being delayed so long is criminal. The Batman 2, uh, well, I think it's criminal anyway. So it does not necessarily take this long. However, okay, um, um, and like I said, you just have to go listen to a lot of different interviews and stuff like that, um, about these things. But I think that things should have been being produced then, because we had Batman vs Superman come out uh, not too long after Man of Steel, uh, and then right after that in the theater. I'm talking about, it was a couple of months. Suicide Squad came out in the theaters. All right, and then they continued in that. And one day I'll go through probably all the DCEU movies, and kind of, I don't want to get too bogged down, but anyway, um, Superman could have been done. I'm talking about sequels. I don't know if Warner Brothers thought that maybe they were being stuck because they've got this story that's being told, so they couldn't tell another story. Again, it's baffling. They just seemed to not want Henry Cavill back anymore and didn't want Superman. It's really just unbelievable. But nevertheless, in my opinion, and looking back, um, nobody can tell what actually would have happened. But I believe that if they had made the sequel to Superman, not Batman v Superman, but an actual um, a, a different movie, it would tell the story of the year between that the year that passed, basically, and give you some further, you know, information and all that. They could have done that then. It would release before Batman v Superman, and within another couple of years, uh, be telling the next story and the next story. They easily could have had four more Superman movies. Okay, between, I'm talking about Man of Steel and the present day. It didn't have to go the way it went, is what I'm trying to tell you. That's just my honest opinion. And I think they would have killed in the box office uh, doing that way. Now, maybe somebody says, no, they couldn't have done it. That's fine. We could have that discussion later on. But that's kind of me. And I would have loved to see every bit of that. That's where I'm going with this. I would have loved to see it. And I'm going to really enjoy seeing Superman back in the movie theaters. I'm going to enjoy seeing that. If they would re-release things like Superman 1, 2, and 3 and Superman Returns in the theaters, I would be going to see those in the theaters. Okay, so if they would release Smallville every 2 weeks or something in the theater, I would be watching that in the theater. Okay, so like 2 episodes every 2 weeks, it'd be a good 2 hour movie. That would be not quite 2 hours, an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. That would be great. I think that, again, that's me. Maybe nobody else would go and watch it. But I like seeing Superman. I like seeing Superman products and stuff like that. Whether or not I have any confidence in this movie. And whatever disagreements I might have with Kryptonite Korner in this particular presentation here. So we're going to go to that, and we're going to jump over to it. So we're going to start watching him. He's reacting to the strength. They call it a trailer, but it's like I assume it's a TV spot because it's only 30 seconds long, or 31 seconds if you want to be technical. But yeah, let's go over to him, and I do recommend going to his channel, and he's polite about what he says and things like that. Those he disagrees with, uh, he's not bombastic or anything like that. He might disagree vehemently or say something that doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, he's worth watching. All right. So, and I won't get him a whole lot more views, but I hope to help him somewhat and encourage him in this endeavor because I do like watching his videos as well. But anyway, let's get over to him and we will watch it this way. And I may have to mute it or things may be cut out. We'll figure that out in a little bit. But here we go. He's already started talking to. He doesn't have any intro. It's just immediately DC has released its new trailer.
Yet another Superman trailer for the new Superman movie. This one's called Superman Strength. I hope we're not getting like too much of the movie here. Normally I wouldn't watch this many trailers on my own, but you know that I got to do it for you guys. Got to react to these trailers. So let's see what it is that this one is going to be like. Let me get it pulled up here. The screenshot looks like something we haven't seen before. The thumbnail, that is. So let me get this pulled up. All right, here we go. Hold on. I have the volume muted. Okay, and here we go. Oh, that was cool. Haven't seen that yet.
I completely agree. That's a really cool flying shot toward the screen. It's way too short. I hope it's really long in the movie because I will enjoy that. I could watch that for 20 minutes. It would just be really cool. I may be exaggerating, but but seriously, it's really cool. Then it cuts to this shot. People love this shot. I promise you. Um, I went to Instagram, watched this little trailer on one place, and one of the comments, as I've said before on this channel, and in my commentaries, that he pushes her head down and just keeps on pushing, and her neck is snapped. It's a semi joke to me, but they could stop that digitally. They could fix it. They kept his eyes from blinking. They could stop pushing her head down as far as they did. But somebody made a comment on Instagram exactly what I was saying, and a bunch of people liked the comment. So other people saw it besides me. The push down on the neck, it just too far for too long. He just keeps going, and you don't know whether or not he even stops because you don't see a stopping point. And anyway, it could be easily fixed. It is a nitpick, but at the same time, they've played this because of all the trailer. Almost everyone, maybe every single one, has this shot from the very first trailer. Might have even been in the. I don't think it was in the pre-trailer in any way. But from the very beginning, after the initial crypto scene began, and it worked its way into the first action shot, was this, and they've played it, I believe, in every trailer and almost all the TV spots. Maybe one or two TV spots that have not had this, and some blips that they didn't play this in, obviously, because they were presenting a flying shot or something like that. But somebody said that I was watching the other day, it might be a little overplayed now because they've done it so many times. We get it. I'm interested to see the aftermath. Once all the canisters fly past him, and in a behind-the-scenes photo, apparently the child is handed to her father, or let go and goes to her father because they're standing some distance apart. So that's just a quick tidbit. So yeah, love the opening. I think he's going to pull back to it again, and then this shot's really cool. Just a couple, a nitpick, and then we've seen it enough, but that's okay too. We don't want to see too much. Seeing the exact same thing again and again is not necessarily bad. So let's
It pulled up here. The screenshot looks like something we haven't seen before. The thumbnail, that is. So let me get this pulled up.
I muted it so that I could continue here. Okay, that was when he backed it up. He didn't back it up. I think he may watch the video again too. Now this dialogue here, I have a theory about it. I'm going to give it after the discussion here, and just let you know kind of where I think it is or what may be happening.
That I absolutely liked that. I liked that it was kind of humanizing him. I liked that it was showing that he's going to struggle with more than just the physical. I liked that we got to see some cool shots that we haven't seen yet before. That was all. That was all pretty positive in my opinion. That first shot that it did, that was probably my favorite. Let me see. I'll play that back again.
Yeah, here's where he pulls
where it was
back.
flying at the camera. I love shots like that. That's pretty awesome. Now, I'm not saying we've never seen that before, but it's really cool.
They're helping them.
I thought I was.
See, I wonder what he means by that. I thought I was. I wonder if there's going to be a situation where he maybe did damage. Like you remember in Batman versus Superman, they set it up so that it looked like when Superman saved Lois Lane, he just got angry and destroyed that village. That's the way they set it up, and they had an actor go in there in the movie, go in there and act like he did all this stuff that he didn't do. And I don't get the feeling that's what's happening.
And just so to agree with him entirely, that's exactly right. And I know that there are still people that complain about that part of the movie of Batman v Superman that do not know or do not understand that the woman testifying before Congress was lying to them. It's clearly stated in the Ultimate Edition. If you've not watched the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, you should be watching that, not watching the theatrical cut. Just forget that. You can't interpret into the scene like you should be, then you just need to quit, watching the movie, I guess. But get away from the theatrical cut and go to the Ultimate Edition. You're going to see what Zack Snyder intended, and that the studios butchered some. All right, they butchered it enough to where people did not like it. Okay, that after watching the Ultimate Edition, they loved it. The Ultimate Edition is universally loved by those who actually watch it. I'm talking about actually watch it. I've not seen a negative review about it except for a couple of blurbs that act like it was the exact same thing. It's not exactly the same thing, and they're just trolls. Basically, is the best way I can describe that. So, but yes, like I said, there are people that don't get that yet. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense that they don't get it. So, but they don't get it. Still, people don't get that was a woman lying. She was um uh I need to go back and watch it to see exactly what she said, but she tells the senator that she was not telling the truth, or she's going to tell the senator all of that. It's a very quick moment. But in any case, it was kind of clear from it that was what she was describing, something that didn't happen. So you're supposed to interpret at that moment a certain camera shots over to the assistant with Lex Luthor and stuff like that. That woman has been hired and told what to do, given a script. She's been um, pressed to do this. Okay, and she was then later threatened and of course killed by the KG Beast. But anyway, and I forget the character's name in the film, but you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, go watch Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Okay, the director's cut of the movie, and see the way it was supposed to play out, because it's fantastic. And I can put up with the theatrical because I know what they were presenting from behind the scenes, and what they were insinuating with a few shots and stuff like that. And so I can deal with it. But some people just, they need things spelled out for them, and then they complain that there's too much exposition after that. You cannot please that kind of person. But nevertheless, um, let's continue on. But he says maybe this is a situation that happens, and I think you see right there. What I've seen is Superman in his suit, in a clean suit, and then a suit that has this soot on it. Okay, this charred suit, I usually say. And the charred suit is, you can see from other shots in the trailers, that it, and I think you'll see it in just a second in this one. Trying to remember, they may have cut it out just enough to show this other stuff. But the charred suit is because the kaiju is breathing fire at him, and he's blocking the fire, it being in the pathway of it. So that's that point of the charred suit. So this is after the kaiju fight, and apparently enough damage from the kaiju fight to where the people in this scene have turned against Superman. Now, why? Who knows? What exactly happens after that? Who knows? But the other places where the charred suit is inside that building that he's about to walk into when he's facing off with Green Lantern, I forget exactly when you see it. I've watched so many trailers and TV spots that I'm not sure where all they're at. So it's that, and then in the apartment, some apartment, where he's sitting down, pulling up his boots in the original photo that was put out, and then he's sitting there, I think, with a cup of coffee. And talking to Lois Lane. He leans toward Lois Lane, and later in the shot, they're looking out the window. She gives him a hug, and they're standing there hugging while something is going on outside. My theory is that is when that discussion's happening. When she says something, you were helping him and he said, "I thought I was." I think the dialogue throws into that scene. I don't know, but I'm believing that it does. And now to preview the rest of the theory that I have for this trailer is that when we see him, he says, when he's speaking toward the end of this little bit that he says, and we'll see it in a minute because I want to get to it and hear it again, that he's saying that in the same place where Lex Luthor is seen in another trailer, standing there with people around him, and he's walking through that scene in a couple different shots in a couple of different ways, but it seems to be that location. So I'm assuming he's there where Lex Luthor is with a bunch of people sitting at computer stations. But if it's not, then we're just seeing a little bit off. It's either that or it's a shot inside the Daily Planet at such an angle where it doesn't quite reveal that. I don't think it's completely revealing where he's at. My theory is that's where he's at because that's what came to mind was that place where Lex Luthor was, which could be there in the Daily Planet part of that building. I don't know. But some of you that watched all the trailers will know what I'm talking about. He's in this area. I think he's in this area where Lex Luthor was with a bunch of people sitting at different computer stations. So anyway, let's keep going.
Happening here. I don't even get the feeling that something got messed up. What I think maybe is just happening is just that it's kind of like the wars that we have going on right now over like in Israel. Everybody's picking a side. What Superman would do is probably just go in and just stop it. You know, he would be like, just quit it. Just stop it all. Just quit. And unfortunately, that mindset of just stop for most people to them, and it would be both sides. They would both think you chose the other side. Both sides would do that. They would think, oh, he's on that side. You see, I've stopped here on this frame where he's got the guy throwing the can at his head with no flinch.
I'm gonna pause there because I want to comment on that just a second. But it's an interesting statement he's making. He's referring to something that some of you know more about. He doesn't go on with it, and I will go on with it a little bit. But but yeah, I could see that too. That could be the case. Is just nothing actually goes wrong. Why is Superman look so upset? Now he either looks angry or he's disappointed or something toward that because it's toward anger. The facial expression is one of not like sadness that something bad happened that he couldn't prevent. Which is kind of in Batman v Superman, the explosion at the Capitol. That kind of inability to prevent something doesn't. It's not what that looks like to me. He looks mad at something, and we just have to speculate why that is or what it is. It just may be the choice at that point. Because when he goes inside the building and he's leaning over the console, he's got a very similar expression, but maybe more toward grief or remorse. But then again, when he faces off with Green Lantern inside that area, and Nathan Fillion's character, Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, says do something big blue or something like that. Uh, but he, tells him to take action basically. In the face-off, he's looking at him angrily, if you will, rather than some kind of a remorseful moment. So I don't know. That's just the direction that I see that. It's what it looks like to me. And I was going to mention also the other parts of the scenes is a clean suit that Superman has. So I assume it's before the charring, unless after this charring he gets the suit cleaned up or replaces it with another one, and then has this other fight with the man, the Hammer of Baravia, that the person in the suit that's shooting lasers out of his eyes, or out of some contraption. It depends on what you think that character is. But yeah, there's I don't mind the theory you just gave. It's like it could just be that he's among a certain amount of people that are really disliking him. It seems weird though, because the vast majority, it's almost like the entire crowd is gathering around disliking him. Okay, disliking something that happened, or disliking. Dislike is a nice word for somebody that would throw a can at the back of his head. Disliking Superman. Okay, it seems like the whole crowd is. If you remember the Batman v Superman crowd of people around that, it was a mixed crowd. It was some people that were against Superman, and some people were for, and it was probably a well split crowd. So that this looks more like the entire crowd is a mob against him, which makes sense as to why Guy Gardner's, Green Lantern would somehow block out the windows and maybe put up some kind of force field to keep them from being able to come in to the building, because it's an angry mob. But to me, it seems I don't know. I mean, it seems just weird that so many of them are upset if something bad didn't happen. If his theory was right, that it's just some people like him and some people don't, I would think that the crowd would be more split. That's what I was getting at. So that would be my point against that being true, but it still could be, and it would be interesting to see how they make that work in the context of the movie. But as far as the flinch, I'm telling you, I was watching the original trailer with dozens and dozens of reactions, and I probably wouldn't have given it much of a second thought as a mistake or anything else, or no criticism. I didn't even get to many channels, or maybe any channel, that made the criticism that when that can hit his head that he flinched. I don't remember seeing that at all. What I remember is listening to a reactor, which could have been Angry Joe. You could watch that to see if he says it in his first reaction to the first trailer, where this happens, and it may not have been him. It might have been somebody else. It just seemed I watched, like I said, a couple of dozen, if not 3 dozen, reactions to that trailer before I made any comments on it, and I even made this comment that somebody said, I wouldn't have even cared, but somebody said he didn't even flinch. Okay, and it was the guy supporting, absolutely going bonkers that this was the greatest trailer ever or something. Yeah, exaggerations possibly to just make you watch his channel. I don't know, but yeah, that was the comment I heard. He didn't even flinch. I was like, he obviously blinked his eyes, might have pushed his head down a little bit, in a reaction. I even understand. I was like, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Don't be so hyped up about watching this thing that you are lying to yourself about what you're seeing on screen. That's what my problem was. It was not people against this movie that said anything about the flinching that I heard anyway. Um, and then supposedly somebody came back and said, well, they fixed it because they had so many people complaining about it. Anti-gunners and Snyderverse or Snyder Bros or whatever. You can say what you want about it. I don't really care one way or the other. I don't know if I like it better with him not blinking than I would to see him just blink. I think, in fact, the moment of the blinking, if I'm really slowing it down and being really critical and analyzing stuff and sitting there watching, thinking, the blink almost seems to be like that pained him for you know, because he didn't quite blink, as it were, like just a blink. It was a blink with a kind of a hold and a sort of grimace. Um, and again, I may be using words that are exaggerative, just to say what I kind of saw in the you know closing of his eyes, which, like I said, instead of his eyes just staying open, it seemed to me to give a moment of what has happened. Why is this crowd turned against Superman? Um, but that was me. I mean, and then I guess other people didn't like the flinch. I didn't like somebody saying, "Oh, he didn't even flinch," when he obviously did, is staring them in the face that he you know blinked his eyes, flinched. Um, and perhaps, and it could be, I'd make the excuse for them, it could be that they meant his head didn't really move or anything, so he didn't flinch in the sense that he like pulled down his head and back up and turned to look at the man angrily or anything like that. He didn't do anything like that, and that I agree. You know, if that's what they meant, but that person did not say, well, he blinks, but he didn't flinch. You know, he just says he didn't flinch, and we know what flinching is. Everybody played the game where you clap your hands in front of your friend and say, oh, you flinched, and you punch him twice or something like that. 2 for flinching. Anyway, maybe I was just among violent upbringing. I don't know. Let's continue on, though. But like I said, I didn't hear anything from people criticizing the trailer about that, and I listened to plenty of people, and I listened and listened to people that criticize it, and whatever the case may be, it's apparently going to be in the movie that he does not flinch, and that's cool because that means it just the can's just bouncing off his head. And I want somebody to definitively tell me what that can is, because I've had 5 different claims being made. And why is he holding a can? Drink can? There's no splash of anything. So, anyway, you let me know in the comments below, or somebody can do a reaction to this reaction of a reaction. That would be cool. Very meta. Anyway, let's continue on here and listen to what he has to say.
But that's what happens is you do something to stop the confrontation, and people assume since their side didn't win that you chose the other side. It's going to be really interesting to see that play out, especially with all the things that we've had going on in the past decade in our world. We've had political climates go this way and that way. We've had wars. We have all kinds of stuff that should help us to relate to this movie. I'm very excited about that. Man of Steel helped us to relate by putting what was going on with Superman, putting it in our actual world. That's why he had like 7-Eleven and IHOP and all that. It was kind of trying to get you to think. That's why Perry was the way he was. It was trying to get you to think, like, if this was actually to happen to us, how would this play out? This story, I'm getting more and more interested in the story as they come out with these trailers. The first trailers really didn't give us any story. We didn't even really have any dialogue. These are starting to really flesh that out and starting to show us like what's going on in this world. Here, let's play this through the rest of the way. It's wrong about me. Let me listen to that again because that. Let me back it up some more.
I'm not sure if that's what he says. I did watch it with the captions on the DC release of it, and it's kind of cutting right into the word that's being said, and the caption does say they've. So I agree. It may well be that, but I think that they're cutting into the sentence in the wrong place. Either to make it sound that way, or it's not perfectly edited. That's a possibility. I heard somebody say, and this makes perfect sense too, that at any moment almost they could have David Cornsweet or Lex Luthor. It was a commercial where Lex Luthor is talking in different places, and they said, why is he saying the sentence this way? He starts it one way, it changes. He says something different in a different tone of voice and stuff over and over. Why not have him ADR that and give the line as the trailer would have it, as it's being cut? Trailer is TV spot, I'm pretty sure, and he's threatening all of his friends and family, basically. That is something that they could have done. This is similar. It's not quite as bad as the Lex Luthor thing because he changed his tones like 4 times in that whole thing. I think 4 or 5 times, because it's just there's so much there. This one, I think, is certainly edited, and I think you can hear it. There's a little bit different way of speaking a couple times, but it's a lot shorter. So he mentions this in just a moment that doesn't know whether or not that's a straight sentence or it's something larger. I think it's obviously something larger, but I'm not sure that Dave is actually there. Now, again, kind of hyper analyzing at this moment, but I do agree that it sounds like they've, and the closed captions on the DC official release of this trailer says they've, and whether that's auto generated by YouTube or they've edited it to make sure that it's what they wanted in the trailer as far as closed captions, that's I don't know, and somebody could tell me if you are enough of a technical person that you know which way that is. But let's continue on, listen to the rest of this, and go into some theories.
They've always been wrong about me. I get scared, but that is being human.
Mm-hmm.
Is the struggle that the world is kind of against him? It seems like in a lot of the shots, everybody's like, oh, Superman, and cheering and wanting him and helping him and all that. I don't know. I'm a little confused by, I guess that's what it is. It's like our political climate. Half the people want this way, half the people want that way, and you just don't know. You never feel like you're doing the right thing. It's like my mom always said about sports when she was a kid. She said she hated playing sports. I was like, why is that, Mom? She said, because half the people want you to win, and half the people want you to lose. It doesn't matter what you do, how good you are, half the people are going to be mad at you. And as a kid, I found that to be very profound, and that could be kind of what's going on here. He's trying to help everybody, which is unlike sports, you're just trying to help one team, but he's trying to help everybody. And it probably doesn't matter what he does, half the people are going to be mad at him. Kind of like Man of Steel, kind of like Superman 2025. The directors are trying to help everybody. They're trying to please everybody. That's why Brandon Routh's Superman was the way it was. They were trying to please everybody. The problem is nobody's on the same page. Nobody is. Nobody wants the same Superman movie. Nobody wants the same thing. The best thing that we can hope for is that it stays true to the character. And it won't. I guarantee you that Superman 2025 won't stay true to the character 100%, But the goal is that it will stay true mostly, just like Man of Steel stayed true mostly, and Brandon Routh stayed true mostly, and Christopher Reeve stayed true mostly. And I know some of y'all will argue on each one of those and say, wait, my movie wasn't mostly. My movie was 100%. And
Um, I'm agreeing with most of what he's saying here too. I don't think that it's a split thing, because if he's saying they've always been wrong about me, again, we're entering into a dialogue that's going on, or a monologue, if you will. Um, that's so. Yeah, we don't know exactly what's going on there, but wherever it's entering in, the I think I'm going to continue watching, letting this play out, and then come back to some things. Um, he's not he's not wrong, but there's certain things that I'm not sure that he's right about. He's principally could be correct, but some of what he's saying, is questionable. Back when Man of Steel came out, okay, there were people that disliked it or did not greatly enjoy it, that had honesty enough to say, uh, it was a well crafted movie. I remember hearing one person explaining that, a pretty high rating, and saying, I give it this high rating. It's well done as far as a movie, but it's not my Superman. It was true to the character, as he was saying. But like I said, this person was being honest enough to say this is a well done movie, while other people were giving it eights, nines, and so forth. Um, but a higher scores, because they enjoyed the character presentation more than this person did. Now this person, would have preferred a Donner version of the character. That was the idea. Was hoping for something like that, especially the Clark Kent version of in the Donner films. So, and like I said this is not my Superman. Um, well, I said especially Clark Kent, but really in that instance in Man of Steel, it would be more the perceived um, tone of Superman, that that there was less joviality, if you will. Um, he didn't save a cat out of a tree, and smile and have um, a a jokey thing happen uh, in several scenes like that. Okay, of saving type of scenes, if you will. Uh, Go back to Superman, and you'll kind of understand what I'm saying right there. Uh, Lots of smiling happening. So I'm not here defending Man of Steel, and trying to compare it to that. I'm just saying that particular review is like that. Now, the problem today, and maybe it existed somewhat then as well, is that we have gotten to the place where people uh, are not being honest, uh, giving a really honest opinion. They're exaggerating their dislikes to create a dishonest presentation of what's actually being seen. Um, we have that, I think, more now, but it generally is to the other side, where people are exaggerating alike. They just simply say, "This was a fantastic movie. This was so great. This was the best thing ever since such and such." Um, where the movie clearly is subpar. I think that happens more often than kind of the other way around, where a person dislikes something about the movie, but then is completely dishonest. And says that this hatred that I have for the movie is gonna make sure that I give it a 1-star review. I don't like the outfit Superman's wearing, so therefore it's going to get a 1-star review and no better than that. And every time somebody tries to say, but these other scenes look great and this was cool, the story was fantastic, whatever the case actually is, that person says, no, it was 1-star because his suit looks ridiculous, and that's it. It would be that's what I hmm, I hope nobody out there is gonna behave that way. But that's what I'm saying. It was contrary to what I experienced seeing some critics say. I didn't like the Superman. It wasn't my way of presenting him, but the movie was well done. And you could kind of separate those two ideas. My idea of Superman from, oh, the movie was well done. So if this movie is really well done, then there should be a number of people that have been hating on it and criticizing the marketing or the suit or the behavior or the whatever it is. If this movie turns out to be fantastic, great, spectacular, then all those criticisms pale into the background. They may bring down the score from a perfect score, close to perfect score, to a star below, and but it would still be like saying, "I hate the suit, but go see the movie," which is, for example, Tyrone Magnus is saying something to that effect. That if the movie is great, he's going to be honest with you and say that, but he hates the suit. The suit is not going to be um, a winning point for him. It's going to take away from the movie no matter what. And I can understand that. You go in and see a fantastic movie, but you hate this outfit, that's going to bring down your enjoyment of it. And if he's honest enough, if that's what happens, then he says, this is this, but I hate the suit. Then other people that say, well, I don't mind the suit, should be able to go in and say, yes, this is a fantastic movie, and since I don't mind the suit, it's all pluses for me. Again, hope that's uh, the way people go, is that they would stop being dishonest about stuff. It's just ridiculous to be dishonest in putting out criticisms or reviews and stuff like that. Just don't waste my time with a completely dishonest review. In any way the dishonesty comes, I don't want to hear dishonesty. Give me a straightforward statement. This is what it is, and we'll see. Um, let's continue on.
It's not. It's not. I love all these movies. I have problems with all these movies. I've mentioned it before, but spinning the world backwards to go back in time. Superman shouldn't even have the power to go back in time.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm not sure. Since I grew up with that, um, the interpretation I put on it is that he didn't slow the world down and spin it backwards, but that he did go back in time. He went back in time, and that was a visual way of showing it. However, I don't think that's what they intended. That it so it is very um, it's very questionable as to who they had checking the science on these films, who was advising them, saying that you can't do what he just did. So, yeah, it's just I take it, I interpret it to be that he went back in time that way, and I allow that to be part of Superman. Even though John Byrne's Superman could not go back in time, they did have a Superboy in the John Byrne run that was capable of going back in time on his own power. So, I had already read that, and at a certain point, um, and in watching the movie when I was little, uh, it I took it very literally. I won't say that I thought it was him going back in time. I took it very literally that he was spinning the world backwards, and then the world turns backwards that way, and instead of and everything goes back. But yeah, later on, I would say he's going back in time to before that point, and that's again the visual representation of it. And he had to go turn around and go forward in time just a little bit to get both rockets and destroy them, and continue on. So that's my interpretation of it. It's the way I just suspend my disbelief for it. You could take it any way you want to. And again, he may be perfectly right that he couldn't go back in time. I don't remember anywhere in the comics pre-crisis or after John Byrne's run where he was capable of going back in time. I always thought he was capable of keeping up with the Flash and rivaling the Flash as far as speed. In Smallville, it seems to make it out that the Flash that they do show is quite a bit faster than Clark. So, which is interesting, very very cool. When I saw it, I was like, but I buy it. I'm okay with it, and especially if he's not capable on his own power to be able to go back in time. He's not that fast to purchase speed of light and all that. That's fine. I buy that entirely. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with him. I just say I don't know. Somebody that knows comics better can certainly comment and let me know if it ever happened any way like that. I do know he's traveled through time at various points, but the reasons why are eluding me right now. I'm rusty on the history, so I'm sure I could Google it, but I'm not going to waste my time right now. So let's keep going.
Okay, that's just like crazy, but I'm getting off track. Let's finish this out and see if I catch anything else. I don't know if that was edited or if he's literally saying in one sentence his greatest strength is that he loves, he gets scared, and that's what makes him human. I don't know if that's edited together or if that was all in one sentence, but that's a really, really good for the climate that we're in. Going from Man of Steel, the disappointments that people had in Man of Steel, of him being too stoic, of him being too godlike, of him being too far removed from us, this is a good way to counterbalance that. To be like, you know what? I feel what you feel. I am human. I can get hurt. I bleed. I do everything I do for the betterment of humanity, and I get brought down. And I think that's really cool. I hope that works out. I hope it's not handled improperly whenever I go to the theaters. But, we'll just have to wait until the 8th, for me anyways, to see. And by the way, when the movie comes out, I will do several videos on it. My first one will probably be right out of the theater reaction. So on the 8th, probably late in the evening, be looking for that. It could be the 9th for you, depending on your time zone. But be looking for that, and I'll give a spoiler-free first initial reaction review. I'll probably do another deeper look review, because I imagine my first initial look won't be that weird. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see where this universe takes us. James Gunn even talked about doing a Superman, Spider-Man, Marvel DC crossover, which, if I remember correctly, there's never been a DC Marvel crossover in, I don't think, in any type of film at all. I could be wrong. There could be some TV show out there. But
all right, so that's the whole of that. So I appreciate his point of view and all that. I do think there's some obscure thing where they have done the crossover in life, but nothing serious. That I'll agree with. Nothing serious and nothing official, if you will. But I do think there's been some weird things out there. But anyway, that's deep diving. So again, going back to what he says, so I'm going to differ a little bit, and I understand, and I don't necessarily want it to be a bad, but what I heard in the trailer there, in that little speech Okay, I understand it is supposed to get the feels and all that. The tone of voice, and again, it seems to be a little bit edited, whether just things probably taken out to make it fit the little 20 seconds, 15 seconds that they had to say it. But it's it doesn't sound right to me. And other people pointed this out, that he sounds wrong in certain places. Now, again, it's just the presentation. We're getting only part of it. We're not getting everything that leads up to it. But he's sounding whiny and in just wimpy in some ways. And I'm trying not to, but just being nitpicky. People are hearing like the trailer where he's about to have the interview with Lois. He says, "Sure," is that high pitched, sure. And then when he says, "Let's do it, Cronkite," and then says Miss Lane. And I'm exaggerating a little bit. He comes deeper and more plain in that moment, and people did enjoy that and said that's the Superman voice. He's saying that in a different way. So um, the, that change makes some sense. So they were comparing that with the earlier part where he was saying that he would do the interview and some kind of higher pitch. So that's the Clark voice, and this is this. Well, we've heard him say things as Clark a few times. Lombard says, "Hey, loser," and he says, "You're a loser," and it's that deep voice. He's speaking to Jimmy, and he says that Superman was pummeled and whatever he says, the exact words, he got beat up. And he says, "No, not really." He has that low register voice. So he's not repeating, and this is not necessarily bad. Brandon Routh and uh, had a very high pitched voice. I think he overdid the imitation, trying to imitate Clark Kent of Christopher Reeve. I think he overdid it, went a little too far in the high pitched voice, and stuff. It's my little nitpick on Superman Returns there, but in this case, he doesn't seem to be doing that. He doesn't seem to be, and I haven't heard any James Gunn advocates say, "Oh, well, okay, he doesn't really seem to be doing that," and acknowledging the deep voice for Clark Kent. So when hearing Superman say these other things, and the moments he's Superman, he gets frustrated. He says, "People were going to die," and it's just the way he says it. And again, not in perfect context, so we don't know. It may play better with the fuller context. And then saying to Lois a couple of times that we seen in the interview, "Why are you being this way?" It's kind of a whininess to him. And that's the way I have to describe it, just to get the point across. That the tone of voice sounds more whiny than it does commanding or powerful, which is just reminding me of Christopher Reeve's portrayal in all the movies, not throughout Superman 4, but in all the other parts. When he's Superman, he's quite firm. He's manly. He would have said that line differently. Okay. And again, in the context of the movie and seeing where it's at and things that may have gone before, things that whatever it's about to lead up to, may well change my perception of the way he's saying it. But for a trailer, just talking about him being strong, his voice doesn't sound as strong as I am expecting it to be listening to Christopher Reeve and hearing other places where he says, Miss Lane, and you're a loser. And, and he has a deep, resonant voice. He has a wimpified voice tonally in this particular trailer. Again, that may mean nothing when we see it, in the movie. However, it could have been dubbed over and said in a deeper register for the trailer, even if it plays better in the movie with the tone that it has. Okay, I say trailer, TV spot, little blip, but it's hardly anything. Uh, I really do hope that Kryptonite Korner is able to enjoy the movie because the movie turns out to be fantastic. I really am hoping that he is able to come out of the theater saying, I love this film. It's so good that everybody needs to go see it. And when he watches it, that was on the 8th, and when he watches it on repeated viewings, it only makes it better for him. That'd be wonderful. We'll all find out here in a few weeks, 1, 2, 3 weeks, when it comes out. It and we'll all be able to judge it for ourselves, and we'll all be able to give our honest opinions, honest review about it. And I'm just giving my honest take on this particular, statement that's being made. There are some great, cool shots. There's some things that we've already seen. As far as anything bad about this trailer or TV spot, not really. I think that there's some places, and they do this. They do this in trailers and TV spots occasionally, where it's not that it's unfinished CGI. They just alter it. Like in the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, they cut out, some characters. They did this in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think, or something else. They cut things out of the trailer or alter the trailer slightly, the actual shot that's going to be in the film, so that they don't give anything away. Okay, so that may be what it is, and it looks a little wonky, if you will. The place where he's swinging the pipe with concrete, whatever that may be, he bats that character, um, trying to keep it from being revealed who the character is. That's the way I understand it. That's the way I take it, and if that's not the case, and somebody can explain that to me, or we'll see it, like I said, on the 11th or 10th if you're going to the Thursday show, and I'll see you there if you're in my area, and we will be able to talk about this movie together if you like. Because, like I said, I'm going to go see the movie and judge it on its own merits. Even though I don't have any confidence in it, I don't. And I'm not seeing confidence coming from the studio or from James Gunn. He came out and said he's not looking for a home run. He's just hoping for a double. Maybe make the money back that was spent on the movie, and that's all he's concerned about. That doesn't make a lot of sense to even come out and say when your movie's only 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks away from showing. So maybe on the 8th there'll be so much buzz about this. All the people that got the early screenings from the Amazon ticket sales, pre-sales, and not pre-sales they are, but advanced screening a few days early. Yeah, maybe they'll come out and just blow the internet up with all positive reviews, and we won't hear another negative thing about it from that point until Tyrone Magnus tells us how terrible the suit is, and then other people come out and hate on it just because they don't want to like the movie for unknown reasons. Yeah, that could be the way it goes. Who knows? We'll see. We got a few weeks. I'm looking forward to at least watching it once. If I absolutely hate it, I'm probably going to watch it 2 or 3 more times to try to get a real good sense of the whole context, make sure I didn't miss anything, and see if it plays better some other way. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, and I may let you know what I think about it. Maybe I'll react to Tyrone Magnus's review of the thing, and that may win me a lot more views. I don't know. I do hope that I was somewhat informative, not too uh, long. I mean, my goodness, I'm an hour of explanation because the trailer, I believe, well, the trailer, the reaction from Kryptonite Korner. Go check him out. Kryptonite Korner was only about 15 minutes long. So we got to quit this. It's just too long. We'll see you next time. Uh, Maybe next time there's some news about the films and stuff like that. Watch what's going on in the world. Spend some time in prayer tonight and seek the Lord Jesus Christ. Walk with Him. And we'll see you next time. Bye.